Welcome back. Now, the Indian economy is poised to grow at the quickest pace among large nations due to the many steps taken by the government in the budget. Now, this is as per the Finance Ministry's latest monthly economic report, which also says that the Indian economy could witness a post-pandemic economic reset by the end of this year, with manufacturing and construction being the key growth drivers. Finance Ministry also said that the economy is on its way to achieve a 9% GDP growth this fiscal year, as per the advance estimates. Well, those are some details here with regard to the the report on the economy that has been put out by the Finance Ministry. Let me, in fact, go across to Dr. Brinda Jagirdar, who's joining us, senior economist on the broadcast. Thank you so much, Dr. Jagirdar, for joining us. Your assessment of what this report really says, saying that, we've more or less recovered on an economic front. Do you think that's actually translated into what we are seeing on ground? Because as far as things like jobs are concerned, inflation, all of these things are still issues which are plaguing the economy.
We are moving in the direction of reviving, and this is what all the problems can't get solved in just one shot. Unless growth revives, jobs will not come. So let us see let us at least appreciate what is happening, which will in turn lead to further growth. Now, the growth drivers, as the government's report has rightly mentioned, things like the public investment in infrastructure. This has such a big multiplier effect, and this is going to really create more jobs. Then there is a PLI scheme, which itself is being met with so much of enthusiasm, and we are seeing a lot of traction over here. Then the Gati Shakti program. This is something very, very novel, because it's a multimodal. It includes railways, ports. They're working in tandem, and they're working together. So again, this will increase greater synergy. Then digitization. Digitization has immense potential to create not only jobs, but to create more growth in the economy. And MSMEs, because we can't grow only with the big corporates, because MSMEs are also important. And so what the government is doing for the MSME, extending the emergency credit guarantee scheme, for example, is one, and enhancing the limit is one example. So giving a focus on MSMEs, looking at exports. Now, export sectors, those which have taken advantage of digitization, they have been able to grow very well. But those which are still dependent on the traditional methods of growing, they are growing much slower. So we need to see how we can bring all these units together. And COVID fighting, the way we have overcome the COVID situation and come out of it, that is again something which everyone is applauding. And that also is one of the reasons why the economy is able to spring back on its feet. But at the same time, what I would say that it's not the end of the road. We still have a lot of hard work ahead of us, and there are still a lot of risks. If we don't pay attention to them, then we may not be able to sustain this growth. So the risks, I'll just add a few. I will say the macros we need to watch very closely. Inflation, for example, because given the liquidity and rising oil prices, as it is, a CPI inflation has touched the higher limit of the MPC target. So inflation we need to be careful about. The fiscal deficit is again something we will have to watch closely.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Dr. Jagirdar, the other question that I had was with regard to what we are seeing in terms of demand really coming back, because that has been one big issue as well through the entire pandemic. Do you think we're seeing that turnaround really coming in at this point?
We are seeing demand coming back, but let's not forget that demand will not come back unless confidence comes back in the economy, and also the service sector, because we have a large component of our GDP coming from services. So these contact services like hospitality and hotels and travel, these which had really taken a very bad hit, entertainment, for example, unless these come back, then we will see demand coming into the economy. And also, where CapEx is concerned, the government investment in CapEx has gone up. But government invest, and of course this will help in crowding in the private sector investment. And private sector, remember, it has cleaned up its act. They have all deleveraged. They're sitting on cash. They are ready to invest. The private sector is ready to invest. The banks have also cleaned up the balance sheets, and the banks are also in a position to invest. What we need are confidence coming back into the economy, and what we need is for these companies to start seeing getting some confidence back in them. Now, see, government investment is only about 30%. So unless we have the private sector being confident and gung-ho in investing, that is, we will not be able to really push or keep up the pace of growth that we need. So we need the private sector to come back and start investing. And, at the same time, reforms have to continue. It's not only the monetary policy and fiscal policy, cutting down interest rates and pumping in more money. This alone, this is in the short term, it will work. It has worked. But going forward, it is reforms which will sustain the pace of growth. For example, the ENAM initiative. It is, connecting the mandis and the farmers through the digital mode. So this has worked this is already taken off, but then it has not, everyone has joined, not all the states have joined in this. So unless we expand this, give the farmers more option where they can sell, how much they can sell, where they can obtain the best prices. So all this is very, very important. Right now, of course, procurement, which has gone up, remunerative prices are being given to farmers, the support to income transfers, crop diversification, all this has helped, but we need to continue the pace of reforms. That's what I would say is very, very important. And reforms not just in the financial sector or in the manufacturing sector or in the agriculture sector, but we also need reforms in the judicial sector. Because unless we have confidence to enforce contracts, and unless they have the confidence to actually reclaim the dues, people will be hesitant to invest, including foreign capital. So we don't want to get lost in litigation. So we need also judicial reforms to come in at the same time. So it's only through, I would say, reforms in the whole range of sectors, acting in tandem with monetary and fiscal policy, that we will be able to sustain the pace of reforms. But it is very heartening to see that India has been recognized world over as one of the fastest growing economies, which has really cleaned up, which has laid strong foundations for growth in the coming years.
All right, Dr. Jagirdar, thank you so much for joining us with your perspective.